back to my channel. My name is Deyaniracavazos and I'm an LPC-associate from the state of Texas. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all the tips when it comes to internship for counselors in training if you're in grad school. And I'll also be sharing some must-haves and what to bring with you. So I want to say thank you so much for requesting this video, and I'm really excited to get into this because this is the kind of video that I wish I would have had back when I was starting grad school and gearing up to do practicum and internship. So all of this applies to practicum as well. So first things first, let me go ahead and introduce you to Old Reliable. This was the backpack that I used to take with me to grad school, practicum, and internship. The brand is Universal Thread from Target. So yeah, I'm all about saving coin, especially when you're a grad student and trying to balance practicum and internship, because if you didn't know, or maybe most of you did know, it is unpaid. So the struggle is real. So I definitely hope that all of these tips that I share with you are going to be helpful and are going to help you feel a little bit more prepped. So let's first go ahead and talk about things to consider when preparing for practicum and internship. So number one would be to brainstorm ahead of time the sites or possible sites that you would like to do your practicum and internship at. Also get a hold of any lists that your university has as soon as possible so you can start contacting sites. And the specific tip is geared for those of you who are sadly tasked with the responsibility to have to find your own internship site. I was one of those students. It was very stressful, frustrating, and I know that there are some programs that actually pair you up with a site, which is honestly something that every counseling program or mental health program should do. So you definitely want to make sure to ask your program if that's something that you have to do, if you have to find your own site, or if it's something that's just provided for you, because the more we know, the more prepared we can be ahead of time. Tip number two is to ask questions. When you are at your site, ask all the questions to your supervisor and to the counselors that you're working under. Anything. I mean, if you have questions about what a progress note looks like, basically the type of questions that you all ask me on a regular basis is the type of questions that you want to ask at your site. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Sometimes we can feel like that, but in reality, all of us at some point had those questions, because there are things that we don't know until we actually are at our sites and putting things into practice. Moving on to tip number three, and that is to ask your professor for your internship course for help ahead of time if you're having a hard time finding a site. And I have heard from some of you that it is really hard to get a hold of some professors, especially if you're doing courses online through a university. So I definitely want to encourage you to still try emailing your program director, your instructor, or your academic advisor, whoever it is that you want to try contacting to get the answers that you need. And I'm just so frustrated for some of you who have let me know that you've tried contacting and haven't heard back or didn't get the answers that you needed. But I still wanted to share this because that might not be the case for everyone, and it's still super important to reach out if you have questions. So the next tip that I want to share with you is, once you are at your site, take your lunch break and leave the office if you can, you guys. Even if you have the urge to stay and keep working, now is the time to start practicing creating a healthy work environment. I've personally seen counselors that do take their lunch and don't take their lunch, and you can definitely tell the difference. And so I'm saying this because as an intern, you are not getting paid. Sometimes we can feel a lot of guilt about, they gave me the opportunity, I want to get a good letter of recommendation, or I want to make a good impact, but you should never want to do those things at the expense of your own mental health. And even though it can seem at first like, oh, I can just stay a few extra hours, that might just keep snowballing, and before you know it, you're not even taking a lunch break or bringing your lunch anymore, and you're stressed. So you definitely want to start implementing those boundaries, which leads me into the next tip, and that is to start practicing setting healthy boundaries. Because if it's something that you're nervous about once you start working, it's so much better to start practicing that there at your practicum and internship sites. So I know for me what that looked like in small ways that made a huge difference was just notifying whoever I was supervised by that I was going to take my lunch. So I wouldn't ask, can I take my lunch? I would say, I'm going to take my lunch. Be right back in an hour. And the sites that I worked at, even if you came back a little bit later, it was no big deal. But every site is different. So I want to make sure to say this because your mental health as a student, as a future clinician is so important. Another boundary is also saying no to something that you don't feel comfortable doing because again, you are an intern, so you are not getting paid to do these things. You are there to help. You are there basically as a volunteer. We are unpaid interns, so we definitely need to act accordingly. Ask questions when we have them. Also say if you need more time or more clarification on something before you end up practicing. I know at my internship site in 2020, when everything was happening, my main concern was preserving my own mental health and helping to the best of my abilities. So was I giving the same of myself that I was once giving at my practicum site? No, I was trying to preserve my mental health even more so because of everything going on. So I want to pass on the same caring advice to you all. Do not sacrifice your own mental health as much as we love our career field. It's because we love our career field that we have to look out for ourselves and for each other, right? That's why I'm also sharing these tips with you all. My next tip is to plan out your meals or research what restaurants are near you, because that's one less thing that you have to worry about because you already researched it ahead of time. So I know for me, my favorite thing to do during lunch at my practicum site was to go home for lunch because I lived a lot closer to that practicum site. And then when I did internship, that site was a lot farther from where I lived. So I would end up going to pick up lunch at my designated restaurant. I would always eat my lunch in my car because I needed quiet time. So I would take time to listen to a podcast, watch YouTube videos, play on my Switch. And sometimes I would even walk around a store. So there was an at-home nearby my internship site. So I would go there sometimes, walk around and look at the home decor for a little bit and then head back to my internship site. And I know this was something that the other clinicians did also. Sometimes go to the mall or go to other stores just to allow your mind to reset a little bit before getting back to work. So definitely try things out and see what works best for you given your circumstances with your site. Now let's go ahead and move on to the must-haves and what to bring with you. And this is all based on my experiences. It has held true for me through practicum and through internship, so I hope this will be helpful for you all. So number one, to bring a book bag with you or a backpack. So you all saw Old Reliable, I would always take my backpack with me, and inside my backpack I would bring a notebook. So that's definitely something good to have on hand with you, especially on that first day, so you can take down notes of what's going to be expected of you. And you can definitely bring like a really thin folder of some sort in case they give you any worksheets or things to look at your site. I also really like to bring like a really thin book to read because sometimes there was downtime at the sites where I worked, not so much on my practicum site, but at the internship site. So I tried to make the most of my time by reading. I mean, I read a ton of books and I read them really quickly. So for me, I was trying to use that time to really learn more about what approaches I wanted to use as a counselor and explore different things. You can always just have it on your laptop too, like as an ebook or on your phone, so you can just go ahead and read it. Stay hydrated, everybody. So I would always bring my water bottle, and it was so annoying because the specific water bottle I would bring that was from Target, I remember like anytime that it would tip over, I would have so many spills. Have something that really does seal really well. The next thing is only for those of you who plan on bringing your lunch with you. So that is to bring your lunch bag with you if you plan on having your meals. And even so, this was something that I would share with other interns who had never worked in community health before. I would always let them know, leave the office, like go to your car for lunch or go eat somewhere else, because if you stay in the office, there will always be more work to do and people will always find more work to give you sometimes. And this is not the case for every site, but again, if you can set those habits for yourself, once you get out into the workplace, it's something that becomes rooted and established for you, so you have those habits in place and it becomes a lot easier to set those healthy boundaries. The last thing that I would always bring with me in my backpack is my laptop. Super important. I could not leave the house without my laptop. You're able to work on school assignments or any work that they give you at that job site, so definitely take your laptop with you. Now, some of the things that I would just keep in my car, because I didn't want to be carrying a lot of heavy things. I mean, carrying my laptop already with the other things that I mentioned was enough weight versus having more stuff. So some of the things that I would leave in my car were my switch or any hair care products that I needed, like a hair clip in case it was a really hot day, Texas weather, you all know. Extra hair ties, like a tie to go, all those things that could come in handy. So I also just wanted to share some of those things. Honestly, I always tried to keep it minimal with the things that I would take with me to internship. I know I didn't mention a pen earlier, but definitely bring some pens with you. So that is it for this video, everyone. I really hope you found these tips helpful. If you have any questions about anything that I mentioned or anything else comes up as you're watching this video or after, definitely leave me a comment down below. If you're new to this channel, definitely consider subscribing, liking this video, leaving me a comment, or sharing this video with others. All of these things help support my channel so that I can keep creating videos for you all. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.